Now we're going to do level of detail computation with exclude as the key. So we'll start with the same data file as before. So it should be the superstore data. Okay, so orders. Okay. So we will now create a calculated field, and we will call the calculated field sales states excluded. Right? So we will call the new calculated field as sales states excluded. All right. So this is going to be exclude. All right. Now we have to specify the dimension that needs to be excluded, which is state or province. All right. So once we have specified the dimension that needs to be excluded, okay, then we separate this section from the next with a colon. Okay. So put a colon, and then you specify the aggregation we want. We can have average, max, and so on and so on. I mean, you have the list of possible aggregations, right? But we want sum of sales, right? And then we finish with the right side squiggly bracket. So now we have a LOD expression with exclude as the keyword. Okay. So now we're going to prepare a text table. Okay. So we want text table side by side. So the easiest quick way to doing that is to move measure names into columns and measure values into text. All right. So then we'll move measure names into filters and filter out the ones that you don't want. Okay. So edit filter. Now we want sales and sales states excluded. Okay. So those are the two columns that we will have. All right. Now we want to move region, state or province, right? And one more, customer segment. And let's look at only a couple of regions, so you'll be able to see what's going on. So we will move region into filters and just select, say, South and West. Okay, just two. So we have that. So now to actually look at what's going on, see here, let's try to add couple of more columns to see, and that would be, so we want, suppose we want a table calculation. All right. So we want a percentage of total. Okay. So what percentage of, well, this is what percentage of the total sales. So we need another sales in there, so we can change that to a table calculation. So right click and move it here. Okay. So now we have to select an aggregation that is different from sum. If you select sum, then it's already there. So it's not going to insert that for you. So let's do AVG and then click the down arrow and add percent of total. Okay. So now we can go back and change the AVG back into sum. So compute using a measure sum. Okay. Now let's all right. So this is a percentage of that. Okay, with respect to total. Let's add some totals here. Let's put the column total at the top so we can. So now we're going to compute one more calculated field. So percentage sales to excluded sales. So what we're going to do is to do sum of sales divided by sum of sales to exclude. So now we'll be able to compare the two percentages and see what actually is happening with the excluded sales. So let's move that down here and format the numbers. So let's change that to percentage. Okay. So now we see, so without the segment, we'll bring in segment in a little bit. So now we can see what's actually going on. See, the sales sum of sales is calculated for the Viz LOD, level of detail of the visualization. At this point, level of detail of the visualization is region and state. Okay. So at the aggregation is happening at the region state level. For each region and state, you make a sum. Each region and state, you make a sum. All right. Now this one is state excluded. So even though state is there, and usually sum would be at that level, state, region and state, this computation is even though state is in the visualization, state is taken out. So it goes back to region, and the region total is what you see everywhere. Okay, because state is excluded. State is in the visualization, but it has been excluded. Okay. So here the percentage of total is well, actually this need to change this to pane. So you see here that this is the percentage of total sales by pane, and that's what is happening here, because each pane is a given region. So since state is excluded, the excluded sales is for a given region, and that is used for the percentages. Okay. So now if you bring in customer segment, then you will see that the reason why we need exclude, because otherwise if you don't bring in the segment, the exclude computation could have been achieved using a quick table computation. The quick table and the exclude computation are identical, the same thing, because quick table pane wise goes back to the pane total and finds the percentages. The exclude does the same thing. But when you bring in a different dimension, then you see the actual difference there, because now this percentage total is for the pane that is determined by region, state and segment. That would be a pane. Whereas the percentage for the excluded sales would be that you go back, remove the state, you go back to the region, and it is based on the region that the sales sum is made, and then the percentages are made on that basis.